Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us. For this bonus showcase video, we're going to be looking at Deluxe Autobot Swerve. The reason this is a bonus video is because this figure could potentially be one of my rarest, as even Transformers Wiki describe this figure as a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma, and he is the result of the most unusual toy release in the history of the brand. Now, before we get started, I'd also like to make a disclaimer that I don't think that this is the only one of these that has been released. I'm sure there's many more out there, but for the reasons I'm going to give in a minute, and for people who haven't seen or heard of this guy, he's got a very, very strange backstory as to how he came out. If any of you viewers have obviously got one, please leave a comment as to where you found him and how you acquired him, because I think the whole story with him is very, very interesting. So, as I say, I'm sure there's many more of you out there, but let's get started with this guy. So, he's just known as Deluxe Swerve, and he came out, or he appeared, around about 2007. And Swerve's toy possesses a number of unusual aspects. Basically, he lacks all gimmicks, and he comes with no accessories whatsoever. So, he's just the figure, like that. His hands are unable to hold 5mm weapons, which were the standard and the usual average size of the weapons produced for the figures at that particular time. So that made it very strange. And if you switch him, turn him around the back, you'll see that he's got the folded wings of the cars behind his arms and behind his legs. This was very common with the Alternators line of toys, but that he's definitely not an alternator, and he's much smaller. As I say, he's literally sort of a deluxe size. So that's a few of the strange things about the toy itself. But let's delve into why it is so strange. And I'm going to apologise again now, because I'm going to be doing quite a lot of reading. And on all my videos, my usual viewers, you all know that I literally just take figures off the shelves, know enough about them to describe to you what you need to be aware. But with this guy, got to confess, with him being as strange and as rare as he is, I'm going to be reading quite a bit of stuff off the internet regarding him. So, he has an interesting past, and he'd say he officially surfaced on Asian websites in around about 2007. And he was packaged in just these poly bags here. There we go. These are quite similar to the bags, if you're lucky enough to own a Botcon figures, what they come in. But so, as I say, it was in Asia, it was in China. They were packed in them bags with English writing on them, and they were also packed with English instructions. And you can see there it says Transformers Universe, and that's exactly the same as the logo that they used in the 2003 toy line. So here we go, all official stuff. That's when they say surface 2007. And then when the first samples turned up in China, they were only available at car dealerships, and it was claimed that the toy was supposed to be available as a freebie for buying a real life Chevy Avio. Obviously, if this was the case, this would make this toy the most expensive Transformer toy to buy, because you of course need to purchase a car to be able to get it. However, then later, contradictory rumours came out that it was available if you just test drove a Chevy Avio. And again, none of these have officially been confirmed. So that's, again, why this figure is so strange and so elusive, shall we say. Then, and this is what's really crazy, early reports, but this was then verified by Hasbro sources, they suggest that the mold's creation had been commissioned by Chevrolet for that company's exclusive use. So only Chevrolet were then allowed to use the mold of this figure, which basically means, and this sounds crazy even saying it out loud, that Hasbro, obviously the major supplier to the world of Transformer figures, and Takara Tomy, the Japanese side, the other major producer of the Transformer toys to the world, they couldn't use it in their own lines. So basically now this figure will never, and you will never get an official release or a major release, because the mold is not owned by Hasbro or Takara, it's only owned by Chevy, so they can't even release this figure. Again, making it even more strange, and I suppose so even more desirable if you want to collect them all, which that's just crazy, isn't it? So this is the figure itself. Let's have a quick look at it. There's a few more things to read out, but I want to show you the figure as well itself. It's got articulation at the elbow joint, at the shoulder joint. The head does move backwards and forwards. I've already shown you at the back that all the wings and everything fold in. The toy itself's really cool, to be fair. It is quite standalone. It does look very different to the deluxe figures that were available at that particular time. So that does make it sort of stand out by itself. It was confirmed later on at BotCon 2008 that Hasbro had produced the toy at their cost for Chevy, thanks to their successful partnership. And then, in a promotional campaign in European markets, the toy was going to be given away to people who took a test drive of the real Chevy Aveo. And again, it's still unclear, and the actual promotional campaign has still got not any evidence that any of it actually happened. So the toys were never meant to be sold. And a handful were then left after the promotion, but again, there was no actual data, there's no evidence of the promotion happening anywhere. So the toys were put onto the Chevy's website, where the last few remainders were sold very quickly on that website. And indeed, they were sold so quickly that some people placed orders and they never actually got them. So you may have got one of these, luckily enough to be on a Chevy website, ironically enough, to be able to buy a Transformer. So if that's where you got yours from, that's brilliant. Again, trying to find out sort of how many of these are about. What I'm going to do now, and I apologise that it's going to be off camera, I'm going to transform him back into his car mode, because it's the first time I transformed him into robot mode for this video. So I probably shouldn't have done that, I've devalued him massively, but I wanted to show you guys, and for that reason again, so I don't break it or damage it, I'm going to now quickly transform him, and then we'll come back for the alternate mode. Okay then, there we are. So we're back and he's in his alternate mode, and there you can see it is the Chevy Aveo. Quick apologies again for doing the transformation off camera. I'm sure you guys can appreciate that I didn't want to damage it in any way, so I wanted to take my time nice and carefully and transform it back into that. I mentioned in the first part of the video a few times the similarities with the alternators, but how much smaller it was, and there is a size comparison for you. I know this is a Binaltech, but that's obviously just the Japanese version of the alternator. You can see literally how much more smaller it is. So it is just the size of a deluxe figure, much smaller than the alternator, although the transformation process is very similar to that. Again, if you guys have got one of these, I'd love to hear how you managed to acquire it. The information that I used in the first part of the video was all taken from Transformers Wiki, and I'm sure you guys already know and will agree that it is the best place to get the information for the Transformers on there. So I've got to thank them for that, because it, especially to me being a guy from the UK, never seen it, never heard of it at all. So for me, it was very useful to read it. There was a couple of other things on there that it said that a year later, in 2009, Chevrolet GM made Swerve available through a contest promotion at several mall displays in Ontario, Canada. So you may be lucky enough to have picked one up from there as well in Canada. So it does seem that it was dotted about here, there and everywhere, but having never had an official release, and due to the reasons that I said earlier, it never will get an official release, I just thought you guys would like to see it. So it is now, it's going to go back inside its little plastic case. It's going to go inside his baggie with the instructions, and to be honest, I'll be put back safe where it was before. So I hope you guys liked, as I say, the story of it. I just saw him sitting on a shelf and I thought I'd like to share it with you, and especially if any of you've got it as well, it'd be great to hear. Quite a strange little story, quite a cool little toy. I hope you enjoyed looking at him. I hope you enjoyed the story behind it, and I'm sorry it waffled on a bit too long, but there was a lot of information regarding him. It's so much easier to just turn around and say, this is Swerve, he was released in 2007 under the what line, but because there wasn't all that information available, that's what makes him interesting. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.